Pradeep Ghosh, and you're watching The Ghosh Spot, my daily bite on national politics and current affairs. It is the season of raids, interrogations, and investigations. Suddenly, there is a spate of probes all across the country. The other day, Omar Abdullah, the dapper former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir and the leader of the National Conference, was summoned to Delhi by the Enforcement Directorate for interrogation on a matter relating to the Jammu and Kashmir Bank. In Bombay, the wife of Sanjay Raut, senior Shiv Sena leader and member of parliament, is being questioned for her accumulation of over 1,000 crore of property. Satyendra Jain, a minister and close associate of Arvind Kejriwal in the Delhi government, is also under the scanner. Then there is the case of Abhishek Banerjee, Mamata Banerjee's nephew, and his wife, who are being investigated by the Enforcement Directorate on a massive case of coal scam in West Bengal. For this, Abhishek is being summoned frequently to Delhi for interrogation. He wanted the investigation to be shifted to the Calcutta desk of the Enforcement Directorate, for which he approached the Delhi High Court, but the Delhi High Court refused to do it. Abhishek then filed a petition in the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court was unwilling to give him urgent hearing. All this prompted perhaps Mamata Banerjee to write to all her counterpart chief ministers of non-BJP ruled states to come together for a meeting to prepare an action plan on how to counter what she alleged was a systematic attempt by the Modi government to use, or rather misuse, central investigative agencies like the ED and CBI to browbeat and pressurize its political opponents. She went a step further to say even some sections of the judiciary are under the influence of the central government. This is a serious charge indeed. But to be fair, she is not the only one to complain. Every time there are raids or summons issued, we hear a chorus and cacophony of protests, accusing the central government of political vendetta. Sharad Pawar's two very senior colleagues and ministers in the current Maharashtra NJ government are today in custody on investigations in different cases. So much so, people have started even questioning sometimes the impartiality of the judiciary. Whenever a judicial order is passed which is seen to favor the government, even in a minor matter like a bail application, insinuations are made about why the judge took certain decision. But without getting into the merits of these cases, the investigative agencies do have a credibility issue. This, to my mind, arises from several factors. First, it is the timing and the manner of the raids, the kind of noise created around it. And thereafter, the blow-hot and blow-cold approach of the investigation, the apparent lack of follow-through, or certainly, lack of transparency or sharing of information in the public domain about the progress of the cases, the slow, execution and very low rate of conviction. Many accused, after initial light and sound of arrests, are released on bail and they continue to roam around freely while the cases go into cold storage. In contrast, take the case of a well-known Indian professional who was accused of insider trading in the US. His trial was fast-tracked. He was convicted very quickly and is now out after serving his sentence, all in a matter of few years. In fact, his Sri Lankan associate, when asked why did he indulge in such a crime, knowing the stringent laws in the United States, he said, back in Asia, the powerful always get away. And that's precisely the problem we have in India. Even though the present government uh, has been in power for over 8 years, they have very little to show in terms of action or tangible progress, uh, especially in the high profile cases. Arvind Kejriwal, too, when he came to power in Delhi, had talked of taking action, promised, action against all the culprits of the CWG, the Commonwealth Games scam, including the then Chief Minister Sheila Dixit. But nothing really happened. With the result, the real Aam Aadmi gets an impression that sab mile hue hai. They think that politicians live in glass houses and can't afford to throw stones at their peers. All this also creates a perception problem for the government at large. So much so, uh, a few days ago, the Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramana, while addressing senior CBI officers in a formal lecture, alluded to the issue of the confidence of the general public in the investigative agency. As a solution, he suggested that the government may look at setting up an independent umbrella body, bringing all these arms of investigative arms like the ED, CBI, SFIO, which is the Serious Fraud Investigation Office, all under one roof, which will facilitate, speedy progress of the cases, better synergy and efficiency. However, the part of the problem also lies with our slow judicial system, which can be easily gamed by powerful politicians and accused with the help of their star, high profile, highly paid lawyers. Speed is of essence in these matters. To quote the old adage, justice delayed is justice denied. And to borrow another cliche, justice must not only be done, but also seen to be done without fear and favor. Otherwise, the entire system becomes suspect. And if the public stopped taking this investigation seriously, we would do an immense harm to our institutions by ending up normalizing corruption. Tellingly, while hearing an application of Rana Ayub, an activist and journalist who was prevented from leaving the country pending a money laundering probe against her by the ED, a Delhi court remarked, rupees 12 crore is not a large sum of money. And sure enough, international journalist interviewing her at a global media conference remarked 12 crores or 120 million rupees is a small amount of money. It must be just around US dollars 20,000. And the impression she created was Rana Ayub was being hounded for a very petty aberration or non-compliance. Now, if this carries on, it would also have a negative rub-off on the image of the Prime Minister, who came to power on the promise of eradicating corruption. Therefore, the Modi government needs to do a lot on damage control. Without that, India will lose respect in the global order where it is trying to find its place in the high table. People will have, I think, a distorted and impression about the status of governance and rule of law in this country. And that certainly we cannot afford in the new India that we all envisage. Thank you. Bye. This is Sandeep Ghosh signing off from another edition of the Ghosh Box.